Hi, my name is Frankie Widows. I am the founder of Eyelash Excellence, and in this YouTube video I wanted to share with you what it takes to be a trainer, and are you ready to be a trainer, because it is a natural progression, I think, from being a lash artist to be able to share your skills with others. But not a lot of people know how to get into the world of training. I see it being asked on forums all the time, so I thought I would share with you how you go about being a trainer. So I've been training students for about 6 years now. I train all over the globe. I get invited to lots of different countries to offer my training. So I do hope that I've had quite a lot of experience in this. And I do offer a online train the trainer course to assist those of you that want to step into the world of training but are not quite sure how to go about doing it. And what I also wanted to share with you was one of my first videos from the online train the trainer course, just to assist you in what it really does take to be a trainer. Now, those of you that know me and have watched my videos and have been part of the Eyelash Excellence brand will know that we are very transparent in the education that we give. We hold nothing back because actually we want to be honest to you guys and let you know everything that is involved in whatever skill it is that you are partaking in, whether that's offering the best lashes out there or stepping into the world of training. Now the problem is, it's one thing to be a great lash technician, but to be a great eyelash extension trainer is another. And if it was easy, then everybody would be doing it and they would be producing awesome training. Yet sadly, we are still seeing so many lash techs falling victim to inadequate training. If you don't believe me, go on any forum and you'll see lots of posts from students that just felt that they weren't taught properly, or you'll see lots of shocking sets being produced that are technically incorrect and technically unsafe. So it just shows you there's a lot of bad training going on out there. So like I said, in my courses I actually leave nothing out. At Eyelash Excellence, we guide all of our students step by step through everything. We draw on our own experience over the years to help all of our students in being the best. Now, we do have 3 options of this course available, option 1, 2 and 3. I will go through these at the end of the video just to explain what they are and what you're signing up to. So guys, hope you enjoy this one, and I will, like I said, discuss more of this at the end of the video. So let's go through the introduction first of all. So are you ready to take the next step in your lashing career and step into the world of training? And I'm guessing so, because that's the reason why you've purchased this course. Now, over the years, you've invested in yourself to be a specialist in your craft. So why not share those skills with others and be an educator? And personally, I think there's nothing better than being able to teach students, whether they're new to the industry or whether they just want to continue to develop in their current skills, all the knowledge that you've gained over the years through your experience, through the courses that you've taken, etc. And I honestly think that teaching is one of the most rewarding things that you can do, and to watch your students grow and excel is actually the most amazing feeling ever. You will also be upholding the standard of our industry by teaching your students the most up-to-date techniques. So it's important that you guys are always up to date. So you've got to keep taking courses, etc. And also the correct methods of applying eyelash extensions, because there is still so many poor trainings out there where they are teaching incorrect methods that are now out of date. So I'm going to guide you step by step through this course. I'm going to give you all the information that you're going to need to set up your own training academy. Obviously, I'm not going to be able to do it for you. All I can do is draw on my experiences from over the years through not only the courses that I've taken to be a trainer, but also through continuing to train students. But actually, it's going to be up to you guys from now to do the hard work and set your academy up. And, you know, this isn't going to be easy. It's going to be quite financially expensive for you guys, and it will take some time. It's not something that you can rush. But like I said, through this course, I really do hope that you gain the information required to have an understanding of how to set up your training academy. And like I said, I'm going to provide you with the necessary information geared solely towards being an educator within the lash industry, as well as sharing with you my own experiences, both good and bad. And you will finish this course feeling confident to start writing your own manuals and teaching students your bespoke techniques. So let's get started. So first of all, this is really important, guys. Are you really ready to be a trainer? Because there is actually so much more to being a trainer than people think. You really have to consider all the things below. And I'm here in the UK, and I'm guessing you guys as well, wherever you are in the world, we are seeing so many trainers pop up here, there, and everywhere. Just people that maybe think they're going to make a quick buck and start training techniques, and actually are not particularly good lash technicians themselves. So we're going to go through this list here to ensure that you are doing this for the right reasons. So first of all, are you confident in your techniques? Are you highly skilled in your craft with years of experience? Now, I have one consistent offender who is a student of mine, and like I said, I'm going to draw on experiences here, who has started training, and that's nothing that I can stop. But she's always messaging me to ask me questions, and a lot of the time they're basic questions. Now, personally, I don't think this person should be training. If she constantly has to come to me to ask very basic questions, she is not ready to be a trainer. But it's not my place to tell her this. So I have to kind of be very gentle about the way in which I approach this subject. But can you see through that you really have to be the top of your game? You have to know the answers to the questions, which is the second one here. Can you answer every question that your student fires at you? Or if you don't know the answer to that question, can you find the answer? Because your students have absolute confidence in you to know that you know your stuff. And if you can't answer their questions or are constantly having to go elsewhere to find the answers, that is a key sign that you are not ready to be a trainer yet. Can you actually educate others? So not everyone can train others. So you might be the best lash technician out there, but you have to have a gift of training. And firstly, I do think that naturally it comes easier to some people than others, but you have to learn how to become a trainer, because to be great at what you do is one thing, but to be able to deliver that training and make your students understand or be able to put things into a way in which they can understand it is completely different. Do you hold the correct qualifications? So do you have a teaching degree, a PETAL certificate, which in the UK is preparing to teach in the lifelong sector, or also called the AET, or an educator's licence? Now in the UK, we can't just be trainers. We have to hold this certification, which we'll go over later, but it means that you either go on a 2-day course and then you have to do assessments and pass those. So that can take from 3 to 4 months, or you can do it online, and that can take between 3 to 6 months, even up to 9 months. So you actually have to check for your state or your country what is required, because everyone is different, and I physically cannot know what is required in your state. So Google it, go to your local authority and find out what is required. Do you have a venue? So that's really important, because if you don't have a venue, you can't train. Do you have a private lash room? Do you have a salon? Or are you able to hire a venue? So that's something that you do have to think about. Do you have, or can you put in place, correct insurances and public liability? So I know a lot of people that are doing this without any of that. It's all very well until something goes wrong. So it might be that if you can't gain it through your current beauty insurance, you need to go to an external company that are going to provide you with the insurances that you need to train your students. And again, that will be up to you in your country or your state to go and find out the insurances that are required for you. And do you have, or can you put in place systems to store student details like your website, spreadsheets, etc.? So for me, I physically don't have the time to not only communicate with all of my students, but is to keep records, send out all of the confirmations and all that, as well as training students, being a lash technician, running my shop. I don't have time to do all of that. So it could be that you have to hire somebody externally that sort of does all that for you and keeps accurate records so that you can draw on those records when you need them. Because if you lose students' details, you could be in a really sticky situation. So there's a lot to consider there, guys, before you decide to become a trainer. So do you have the time? This is another thing, if you're somebody that's busy with working all the hours under the sun, maybe you've got a family, maybe enjoy the weekends, do you have the time? Because students will contact you at all hours of the day and night, and they will expect a reply from you. I see it on so many forums how somebody took training, they're trying to get into contact with their trainer, and the trainer won't reply, and that student's kind of left hanging. That's not good enough. You have to be able to get back to your students within a decent amount of time. So if you're somebody that enjoys your evenings off, or you like to have your weekends, you can say goodbye to that, because actually your students need you, and you have a duty of care to provide that continued aftercare support to your students whenever they need it. And that could be a week down the line, a month down the line, a year down the line, 10 years down the line. Your training is not just about that one day, but the continued aftercare support that you offer your students in a timely manner. Do you have the products or kits for them to use? So, do you have somewhere where you can purchase your kits from? Or do you have a supplier, or have you gone out and branded your own stuff? So have you contacted manufacturers from abroad and started testing products and then got them in and branded? So you actually have to have good products. You can't just be going buying rubbish off Amazon and training your students with it. You should be training your students with the products that you like to use and that you know you have 100% confidence in them. And that's another thing, that when I have my courses, I actually don't really like to allow my students to use products from elsewhere. Maybe if they're coming on a skill building course, like a VIP one-to-one, it's a bit different. But the problem is I don't know how those adhesives work, how those lashes attach. So for me, it makes it easier for me to be able to train my students using my products that I've tried and tested. And I can guarantee that those products will work because I know how they work through years of testing them. So again, another thing that you've really got to consider. Also, do you have the initial funds? Guys, it's really expensive to set up an academy, and I'm going to go through some of the listings of prices below that you're going to need to consider, that you're going to have to pay out for before you go into training. So first of all, your website setup costs and maintenance. To get a good website, you're going to be looking between £300 to £1,000. And by that, I mean not one of these free websites that isn't going to hit the Google rankings. It's working with web designers that can keep your website up to date, make sure there's no broken links, change things if they need to, make sure it's completely secure. That's all something I can't do myself because I'm a lash technician, I'm not a web designer. If you have a background in web design, oh my God, that's brilliant, and absolutely you can do it yourself. But if you're not confident in web design, you're going to need to outsource this to somebody else. Do you have your terms and conditions in place? And the cost for those for a good legal team is going to cost you between £500 to £5,000. Trust me, I know this. If you work with a good legal team, they cost a lot. If you draw up terms and conditions yourself, it's all very well until something bad happens and you go to court, but then those terms and conditions will be worth nothing because you wrote them. So this is something that you must have in place, is your policies, your terms and conditions by a good legal team before you can actually set up your training academy. Do you have your trainer courses if you need them, your petals, your AET, your teaching degree? Again, that's going to cost you anything from £300 to £1,000. Again, sourcing your kits or products. So you're going to have to either buy kits in or source products. First of all, you're going to have to pay to import products if you want to test them. And then a lot of the time, if you do like those products, you're going to need to order a minimum quantity. And that can be quite expensive. You can't just order 3 lashes and 4 glues or whatever. No, they'll be expecting you to order 50 of this, 100 of this. So again, something that you guys really have to consider. And obviously the prices from that can vary from anything to £500 to £3,000. The creation of manuals and certificates. Again, you're going to have to work with good graphic guys, unless you're a graphic designer yourself, brilliant. But otherwise, again, between £500 to £2,000 to actually develop a good manual. So by the time you've put your manual together, work with your graphic guys who will charge an hourly rate, and then got your manuals printed, you could end up spending about £3,000 on one of your manuals. So it can be very, very expensive. Please, please, please do not print them out on bits of paper. I took a makeup course about 3 years ago. It was horrific. I paid a lot of money for this course. I actually did my research on it. She had a good website. And when I turned up, she gave me a printout that she'd done on the computer with a Word document, and it was stapled together. I really, really wasn't impressed. I wanted to come away with a nice, shiny manual, and I got a bit of paper out of a printer. So can you see how that's really important? And actually, that was my initial thinking when I turned up and she handed me over these bits of paper. I was like, oh my God, is this it? That was all I got. No manuals, nothing at all. Again, student insurance. We spoke about this before. Anywhere from £100 to £500 for student insurance per year. So it's something you're going to have to shop around and consider all of these prices before you actually go into training. So it can be expensive to set all of this up, guys. So why should people train with you? Okay, so it's all very well deciding to be a trainer, but you really need to think about the reasons why you want to do this, okay? Is it for the money? Do you want to better the industry? Do you really enjoy teaching? Or are you just bored of lashing and want something else to do? So what is going to set you apart from your competition? Why should people train with you? And what can you offer that nobody else out there can, okay? Because actually this industry is now saturated with trainers, okay, both good and both bad. So how are you going to compete in this crowded market? So you've got to really think what is going to set you apart from your competition. And again, do you really know your stuff? Okay, because sadly, there are far too many poor trainers out there. They have no clue what they're doing. Do you know what? There's even big lash companies out there still teaching outdated techniques. This is not only shocking, but it's unacceptable. Here in the UK, we have a massive, massive lash company here, and they are still teaching to swipe onto the natural lash, and they are still teaching lash maps of 8 in the inner corners, 10 over the middle of the eye, and 12 in the outer corners, and using 0.25s or 0.2s in a J curl. Come on, guys, we did that 6, 7 years ago, not now, you know, when our industry has developed. And this is a big, big company that has an apparently good reputation, and they're doing that. So again, you've got to know that you know your stuff and keep up to date, because see, even these big companies are still teaching these outdated techniques, which is completely unacceptable. So have you taken recent courses with some of the best trainers out there? So this is something that you need to keep doing. Every year, go and travel, you know, if you've got to fly to somewhere, do it so that you can take advanced courses and keep up to date. Now, this might be difficult if you are already a trainer, because a lot of other trainers may not accept you onto their courses. And this is something that I've struggled with. I can understand that they're probably suspicious, wondering why I want to take one of their courses, but I don't know it all, you know. I can only learn by being taught, and I want to continue to learn off other great masters in our industry. So for me, if I see a good trainer that's coming locally or holding a course somewhere, I will fly out to that trainer because I want to be the best. You know, I want to see what it is they're doing. And also my students want to see my qualifications. They want to see that I'm continuing being up to date. And it's going to be the same with you guys. So make sure that you continue to take good training so that your students can see that you are up to date. Are you confident and proficient in all of the techniques that you plan to teach? Can you cater for all types of students? Because some are really hard to train, and you also need to learn how to adapt to your teaching styles and techniques to suit that student. And that's another reason why, even if your country doesn't require it, it's a good idea to go and take a teaching course, because that will cover how to adapt your teaching styles to suit the student's learning needs. So although this is geared around teaching you how to train lashes, it's your responsibility to actually understand how to teach an overall subject to different students. And that's something that, you know, you might have naturally, but it's something you do definitely need to go and train in so that you understand all the concepts of it. So it's something I definitely recommend, even if it's not required in your country or state. Do you have the correct qualifications? Okay, so although this course is going to assist you in being a trainer, but do you legally have the correct qualifications? Because, like I said, those requirements vary from country to country and obviously between the states. Therefore, you have to go and do your own research for your state and your country. And like I said, you can use Google, contact your local government to find out the requirements. And if in doubt, go and seek professional advice on this to ensure that you are absolutely covered. So again, like I said, in the UK, we must hold an independent teaching qualification called AET, which is the Award in Education and Training. It was called the Petals before when I took this course. And it was an invaluable 2-day course, as well as being legally required in the UK. So we have to accredit our courses in the UK, and my accrediting company would not accept any of my courses until I could prove that I had this certificate in training, which I think is a great thing here in the UK. So do your courses need to be accredited or recognised? So again, your legal requirements vary from country to country, state to state. So like I said, here in the UK, not only did I need that independent teaching qualification that cost me £500, but I then had to submit my course to the UK accrediting company, which cost me £554, and meet their requirements. So it's not a simple thing to do here in the UK, but I like that because it means that I've had to work for my courses to be accredited. It gives faith in students knowing that my courses are accredited. They do have CPD points against them. I haven't just developed it myself and put it out there. It's been recognised as being a good course. And actually, if I don't have this accreditation, my course means nothing. So in the UK, if I didn't have that accreditation on my courses, my students could take it, but they wouldn't be able to gain insurance with it. It's like learning to drive. You could learn to drive with your best friend, but if you wanted to then go and get insurance on your vehicle, you couldn't because you don't have a driving license. You don't have a certified driving license. So it's so important that you understand what your regulations are in your country or your state, okay? I also have to pay a fee for every course I wish to accredit, and I have to renew that every year, as well as all of my insurances for my students. So this is expensive, guys. It's not, easy peasy and cheap to run training. So just something I really want you guys to consider before you start setting up your academy, because I don't want you to be stung with these additional costs that you didn't realise were there. And again, do you have the correct products and kits? Because when your students take your courses, you're going to need to provide them with everything that they are going to be required to use during that class. And if it's a beginner's class, you may need to consider what they're going to need afterwards, because if they're going to need to go away and submit case studies, they need the good equipment there to be able to work with. So what will your kit offer? You're going to need to include everything that they will need to lash a client in there. Where are you going to source your kits? Is it going to be manufacturers or other academies? So as Eyelash Excellence, we do sell our kits to other training academies that want to use our kits to train their students. Are those products approved? So do they meet the regulations? Do they have the correct material safety data sheets? You can't just go out there and buy a product off Amazon or eBay, because actually it's got to be approved. And luckily here in the UK, we have some of the strictest regulations in the world. This is why I can't sell certain products that some other suppliers or manufacturers or lash technicians sell around the world, because I can't get them through the regulations here. There's certain adhesives out there that are circulating. I see pop up on forums all the time that people use. We can't legally sell them here in the UK because they don't meet our requirements. They're illegal. But I still see UK lash technicians use them all the time, not knowing that actually what they're using is an illegal product. And if it was to go to court, their business would be in trouble. So it's so important that you know that your products that you are using are approved in your country. You need to also price those kits accordingly. So do you incorporate that into the course price, or do you give the student the option of buying it themselves? Again, that's something that's up to you, how you choose to do it. And again, your in-depth student-only manual. So my manuals are not available for anybody else to purchase. If you come on my courses, you're the only person that gets one of my manual. And I hold my, head high and say that my manuals are superior quality. I work with awesome graphic design guys that are expensive, but they are the best. I take my time to write my manuals. I put so much in them because I want my students to come away with a nice shiny manual with so much content in them and something that they can keep forever. And I don't know about you guys, but I've got some lovely manuals from courses that I've been on, and I've also got some really shocking ones. But I love having my great manuals all lined up in my lashing room that I can refer back to as and when I need them. So going back to your training venue or your salon, do you have the correct venue to offer training? So do you comply to health and safety? Is an inspection required? And again, this varies from where you are in the world. Does it look professional? So your students are paying a lot of money for training and will expect a professional looking venue. I think, according to certain books that I've read, your first judgments are made within the first 4 to 8 seconds of either meeting a person or of entering a premises, etc. You know what I'm trying to get at. So it needs to look nice when your students walk in, because that is going to set the precedence for what they're going to expect that their class is going to be like. Is your venue easy to find and access and park? Because a lot of people will be driving. So do they have free parking, or do they have to pay for it? So if they have to pay to park in a public car park, you need to make your students aware of that. Who's going to cover the cost? Is that you? Is that the student? All things that you need to consider. Do you have lunch facilities nearby? So sometimes legislation, certainly in the UK, is that I can't make lunch for students because I don't hold a food certificate. So I can buy food in for my students, but I can't physically make it myself, and that's something that you need to consider. So are you going to provide lunch for them that you buy in, or is it up to your students to bring their own lunch, or do you go out for lunch? It's all those little things that you need to consider when factoring your costs and your day. Is there enough room to accommodate your student or students or your model or your models? So again, think about that when you're deciding to run training. And what days will you run training? Now, having tested this over the year, most of the days that people like to have their training is a Saturday and Sunday, because a lot of people in this industry are mothers, and as such, they need people to look after their children. It's also easier to travel around on the weekend because the traffic's not as bad. However, Mondays can work as well, because I think a lot of salons tend to close on a Monday. So if they're already in the beauty industry, Mondays can be quite good days. I know that our courses that are held over on the weekends are always better subscribed than our courses that we hold during the week. So for that reason, we hold courses at the weekend, which means that I very rarely get a weekend off. So again, if you like to have your weekends off, it's something that you might have to say goodbye to. Do you need a TV screen, a projector, etc., etc.? You know, if you've got a one-to-one student, it's fine to work off a laptop, but if you've got a group of students, you're going to need something at the front of the room, whether it's a big TV screen, whether it's a projector. They all cost money. You need to know how to use them. I'm not the most technical person in the world, so I struggle a little bit with things like that. But again, something that you've got to think about when it comes to your venue. So if you decide to hire venues, these are the things that you need to consider. So first of all, you've got hotels, conference rooms, and other salons that you can hire. Now think about the size of the room. So if you're doing one-to-one, you don't need an overly big room, but if you're doing group courses, you're going to need a much bigger room. What's the daily hire rate? So you need to consider that, because actually a lot of these rooms are quite expensive to hire. You could spend out the same money hiring a venue as it is to have a student on that course. So actually once you've hired the venue, provided lunch or bought it in and given them a kit, you could actually make a loss. So again, it's something that you need to consider. What's the additional cost? So food, drinks, AV equipment. Do you need to provide accommodation for your students? Everything that might come into this. What about your room setup? So do you set it up in a classroom style, or boardroom style, a banquet style, a theatre style? Again, all to do with student learning. What's the best way to set up your room for the student or students that you have? What's your cancellation policy and fee? So if a student can't make it on the day or cancels the day before, you've set that aside a day to train them. So that's a day where you're losing money. So make sure that you've got those policies in place. If you're hiring a venue, Wi-Fi costs. So actually a lot of Wi-Fi in venues that you hire, it doesn't come for free. You actually have to pay for it. And a lot of the time you have to pay for it per person. So you need to make sure that you find out about that before you go ahead and hire a venue. What about the parking fees? Again, a lot of hotels you have to pay to park, especially if you're in the city. And that can be about £25 to £30 per day. So who's going to cover that? Is that going to be you? Is that going to be your students? Is the location easily accessible? So for me, I hate going into busy towns. I am a country bumpkin. I like being out in the country with the fields around me. You make me drive into any big city, I hate it. So I will avoid courses that require me to go to a big city, because I actually find the whole thing stressful. You know, having to get on public transport, which I'm not confident with, because I am a country bumpkin. I've always lived out in the countryside. I've always driven everywhere. So for me, actually going into a big city and having to find a location and then struggling to park really terrifies me. So again, consider your venue. Is it easy for your students to get to? You know, are they going to get stuck in traffic or not? All those things that you need to consider when deciding to have a venue that you can train from. So this might sound simple, but how do your students book your course? So how do they find out about your services? And there is a quote from a film called The Field of Dreams with Kevin Costner, where he built this big baseball pitch, and very, very old film, but I hope some of you know what I'm talking about. And the quote was, "If you build it, they will come." Now, guys, this doesn't work for us, okay? So it's all very well setting up a training academy, but you've got to get those students in to come and train with you. So first of all, you are going to need a good website. Make it easy to navigate with good SEO, so search engine optimization. And this is something that web designers can assist you with if you're not a web designer yourself. Think about your branding, okay? Put your work out there. People want to see your work. People want to see your students' work. People want to see a list of what is covered in your courses. What kits do you offer? What are the case study requirements? Where's the venue address? What are the transport links, accommodation, etc.? You need to make sure that you've got every bit of information on there to provide your students with, because they want to see that information. And also, do you have the time to go backwards and forwards with a student who, is just trying to find out the information? So if you can put everything on your website, it limits the questions that they have to ask, which of course they're going to ask. They need to ask because they want to know. So really, really important that you have all of that information on there, and paramountly a very, very good website, because most of us find what we're looking for on Google, and if it's not ranking up there, then you need to ensure that it is. Does your website have a shopping basket or e-commerce so that people can buy your course online? And I always personally say that these are preferred to online banking. So I always think that a business can look a little bit more professional when you can purchase the product off the website, rather than saying, oh, can you transfer it into my bank account, which is this bank details. Now, if you decide to do that when you're setting your business up, that's absolutely fine. And that's what I did before I had all of this in place. But over time, you need to consider having that e-commerce on your website so that students can book through that as well. Also, you want to get that student when they're in the moment. I've taken a lot of business courses, and this is one of the things that was really covered, was that you want to get them there and then. If you give that student time to go away, she might change her mind. And obviously she's entitled to, but if they can book then and there and click that button, it's done, rather than having to wait for you to get back and then get the bank details. And online banking can be a bit of a pain as well. You know what it's like to have to set your laptop up and go into your online banking and then get your card reader, and it's just like, oh God. Whereas if you can just click a button and pay, it's so much simpler. So consider that. No cash on the day, okay? So doing lashes, your clients will promise you cash and then, oh, I forgot it, or oh, I'm a bit short this month. Do you think that I could pay you in a couple of days' time? No cash on the day. You have to have that student's money up front, whether it's a deposit and then final payment 2 weeks before that course, okay? Because if you've been hiring venues, or you've set your day aside for that student, if they decide not to turn up or not bring the cash, you've not earned for that day, or you've lost your venue hire price. So you have to ensure cash up front before you see that student. And trust me, you will learn the hard way if you don't do this. Luckily, this is something that I never did. I didn't have to learn the hard way because I learned through clients in my lash salon. But yeah, just make sure that all of this is professional and money up front before they attend your course. Can you maintain your website? So I can't. I'm not a web designer, so I have a great web team that maintain my website for me, so that if I need any changes, I just ask them to do it. They make sure that it's always up to date, there's no broken links, etc., etc. What about your confirmation email? So does this happen automatically through your website, or is it something that you need to sit down and send out confirmation emails to your students just to confirm everything, so that they can see that they've booked and that they know exactly where they're going and what they need to bring on the day? So there's a lot of things that you need to consider, as you can see, for your students. So what then happens to your students after the course, okay? Because like I said before, training your students is not only about offering the best service during that course, but also the aftercare that you give them. And your part is to guarantee that you're always going to be there to assist them. Like I said, whether it's next week, next month, next year, or in 10 years' time. And have you got that time? Have you got the patience and the passion to offer this to your students? Because they're going to need you. Trust me, they will. They really, really will. And are you willing to offer them free training after the course if they need it? So many will want further assistance if they feel that they haven't grasped the techniques, and that sometimes happen. And you have a duty to offer this to them. So it could be that you have to then set aside another free training day, so you don't charge your students for it, to come back and go through the techniques if they are lacking in confidence. So you can't just send your student out there and wave goodbye. You need to be there for them. That's what they've paid you for. That's why they've invested in you, so that they've got that continued aftercare support, not just on the day, but for the amount of time that they're going to need it. So what about your student assessments or your certification? So how are you going to certify your students? Is it going to be on the day, or will you require them to submit case studies? Now, personally, I believe that students must earn their certificates. And this is certificate of successful completion. So this will show that students have taken the techniques taught on the day and have been able to apply them in their own time. And also, guys, if people are going to use your company name next to their work, which they will, you don't want students producing bad work. I actually had a student of mine that was tagging me in her work before she passed her case studies. And to be honest, I don't know what course she'd been on, because she hadn't been on mine, because all the techniques that I taught had gone out the window. You know, I taught her volume, we talk about lengths, about dimensions of fans and that. And the next thing I see is 18 to 20 millimeter Russian volume being applied with 11 millimeter in the inner corner and 18 millimeter on the outer corner. I never taught that. I would never teach that. But this student was tagging me and using my name against their work and hadn't completed their case studies. And the last thing I want to do is be associated with damaging work or stuff that's not technically what I've taught. So this is important, that students earn your certification and don't just go out there saying, I train with so-and-so, because it could actually make you look bad. And, you know, it's very rarely going to happen, you know, but you just have to protect yourself, okay? Also, how many case studies will you require? So is there a time limit? Because I know that some academies require you to submit within a certain time, and some other academies say, no, you know, we understand that everybody's busy. We would rather that you went away in your own time and only submitted good work to us when you are happy with it. Because, you know, things do come up, you know, things happen. You might not be able to get your case study submitted. Sometimes it could take a year. So consider how you're going to do that with your students. Also, how are you going to deal with students that do not pass their case studies or disagree with your feedback? And we will be covering this later on in the course. But this is going to happen. So you've got to think about how you're going to deal with that. And like I said, we will be discussing this later on in the course, because it is a difficult subject and it is something that will happen every now and then. So it's a really important part of being a trainer and knowing how to deal with that type of student. So guys, that brings us to the end of part one. I hope you managed to keep up with that so far, and that that's been valuable so far. And I very much look forward to seeing you at part two. So after all of this, if you do think that training is for you and you'd be interested in taking our Train the Trainer course, then the options available are these. We have option one, which gives you full access to the online Train the Trainer course and the theory content. So that is approximately 9 hours long. So it just gives you access to that. Then you can move on to option two, which will actually give you exactly the same, so full access to the online Train the Trainer course, and then you can submit all of your things for assessment. So that we'll take your course, we'll go through it, we'll give you feedback on it, and we'll guide you on what you need to improve on, or whether you've hit all of those points. And again, that is explained all in the online course at the end if you do decide to take that option. Now, option three gives you all of that, as well as access to my online beginners course, online skill building course, online eye styling course, and online Russian volume course. So they're the fundamentals that you really need to step into the world of training. So if you do purchase that option, you've probably got about 50 hours of content there. That is a hell of a lot of content for you guys to work through. And that will just ensure that you have got all of your manuals set up. You know exactly what needs to go in them. There is just so much information, guys, there for you to draw on to ensure that you are setting up your training academy if you do feel like you need to brush up on those certain types of skills. So we've had some fantastic students come through our online Train the Trainer course. Here is one of them that I just wanted to share with you. One of my students, Amanda, who took this course. And she said to me, and you can see by this screenshot, sorry it's taken so long to complete the course. Lockdown for me has been a blessing in disguise. So she took this during lockdown through the coronavirus pandemic. She said that the course is so full of information. It literally has taken me full time 4 months to complete, with a lot of 5 a.m. starts. So you can see that there is so much content here, and when we do assess it, if you choose that option, we are given super in-depth feedback just to ensure that our online Train the Trainer course students are set up, ready to hit the ground running. So like I said, if you do think this course is for you, please jump over to the Eyelash Excellence website. visit the online training menu, scroll down, and you'll find the trainer course. And obviously, if you have any questions, please don't forget to email them into info@eyelashexcellence.com, and we will always be happy to assist you. And don't forget to click that subscribe button if you haven't done already. We have so much content on the Eyelash Excellence channel. And if you'd like to see something, then again, please don't hesitate to get in touch. We'll always try our best to accommodate you.